to introduce one of our heroes in the Ann Arbor office. Come on up, Julie. She says she doesn't feel like a hero, but she is a hero to us. Julie's been a foster parent with the Ann Arbor Office of Lutheran Social Services since 2008, and she's had a variety of children in her home, a variety of ages, and which oftentimes people limit their age to a very narrow focus, but Julie did not, which was really helpful to us and to the children that came to her home, and a variety of temperaments. And so she will share with us a story of, I think you're going to talk about the latest children that have been placed with you. She's experienced children coming to her care and going home, children coming to her care and being freed for adoption. So, and moving on that road from foster to adoptive parent as well. So go ahead, Julie.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here to be speaking with you tonight about my wonderful experiences as a foster parent. I have tissue because I guarantee you I will cry at some point tonight, but I should, in the interest of full disclosure, I am a Lutheran. I grew up in Minnesota, so I'm familiar with the Lutheran guilt of child rearing, and I'm sure I impose some of that on my own children. But it's when I decided to be a foster parent, I chose Lutheran Social Services because of my background as in growing up in the Lutheran faith, and just a little tidbit of knowledge to get things started. So I have been doing foster care for 7 years. I've had 10 children in my 7 years. 3 of them were returned back to their parents, and 2 of those are the 2 I will talk to you about tonight. Their names are Isaac and Haley. I'm already crying. And they were placed with me in foster care last October. But the story actually begins with my second foster child. Her name is Heidi. I adopted Heidi when she was 16 years old. I was Heidi's 11th home. It's in 14 years. She came to me just shy of her 15th birthday. And I did, in the beginning, I said, I only want children who are 6 to 12 years old. And of course, I didn't get children within that age range until last year. So, and I changed the ages on what I would take. As new children came up, and they thought, you don't have this designated. Okay, well, we'll just make it newborn to 18, okay? So Heidi came to live with me. She, one of her placements was in an adoptive home that was a failed adoptive home. She was adopted along with her 2 sisters. The 3 girls were among 10 children from a biological mom whose children were all taken by CPS and placed into foster placements, adoptive homes, etc. These girls were placed in a home that ended up being an abusive situation. And Heidi's sister, next sister up's name is Katie, and she sustained the majority of the abuse from their experiences. Sorry, this is a very emotional story for me because it's tied with a lot of different levels of emotion. So Heidi came to live with me, and when Heidi came to live with me, the story of Katie came with her. And Katie did not go to another foster home after they were removed from their adoptive home. She went to a group home that was not a good experience for her, and she ran away. So she was AWOL from the system and went through a number of bad choices and wound up pregnant. And so that's when I first met Katie in the hospital when we found out she was pregnant. So she had the baby, and after a while, more bad choices for Katie. She became addicted to heroin and was not able to care for Isaac anymore. And so my daughter Heidi came to me and said, please, can we take in Isaac in foster care? And I said, oh no, please, no. He was only 18 months old. I didn't have money for daycare, and I worked full time, and I wanted school-age children, and I said, I don't want to get involved with this. I don't, let's just let the foster care people take care of it. And she said, oh please. So we went to see Katie and Isaac to take them somewhere, and I'll never forget the vision of this child. He was about 19 months old. Katie's one-room apartment had, she didn't pay her bills, so they had turned off the electricity. It was November. It was freezing cold. It was filthy. Here is this little child sitting at the table, expressionless, absolutely expressionless, with a piece of cold pizza in front of him for his breakfast. And I thought to myself, how can I not get involved in this? So I told Heidi that I would take in Isaac if Katie would agree to that. Katie's personality was very volatile and is a difficult personality to get along with. So I thought, if she's agreeable, then I'll take him. So he came to live with us. And within about 3 months, he started talking and assimilating to our family, and I enjoyed having him with us. But it was always under the impression that Katie was going to get better and he was going to go back home. And after about 6 weeks, no visitation was set up, and Isaac never asked about his mom. And before long, she had landed herself in jail. More bad choices. And then I started to think that the worker would come to me and say, well, are you willing to adopt Isaac if Katie doesn't get better? And then I was really thinking, what have I done? And so I had to try to wrap my brain around the idea of potentially adopting this child. And so it was a really cathartic experience for me. So I agreed that I would adopt him. Katie got out of jail and immediately got pregnant, and was working toward getting her kids back. But the worker at the time wasn't convinced that she was going to be able to do it, so she said, hey, she's having a baby, we want to keep the siblings together. Would you take the baby? And I said, okay, I'm a full-time associate professor at the University of Michigan. I have a full job, and I have another child, plus Isaac, and my dean will not give me family leave, but heck yeah, let's have an infant at the house. Oh, and I also had a foreign exchange student from Slovakia that year. Yes. So it was a full house, and I told the worker, I said, please don't give me an infant and then take her away from me. And she said, we have such a strong case for termination. It's not likely to happen. So things went along, and we got, Haley was about 6 months old, and there was a new worker on the case, there was a new therapist on the case, and all of a sudden, the case went from termination to reunification. And my world came crashing down because I had worked so hard to wrap my brain around the idea of adopting these young children, and how am I going to pay for daycare, and how am I going to, and there I was, and now all of a sudden, oops, it's going to go the other direction. And that was a really hard time for me because I knew Katie personally. I knew that she was unlikely to be successful, but my curse in life is that I always see both sides, and I thought, here's this young mom, she needs to have another chance with her kids. And so I switched my mindset and said, okay, I'm gonna help her. If they're gonna go back, I have to help her. So she came to my house, I showed her the routines that I would use with Isaac, I talked about the reward systems, all the discipline techniques, and tried to coach her on how to make his life with her as similar as it was with me, so that she could be set up for success. And indeed, the children went back to her when they turned 4 and 1. And I don't have words to express the grief that I felt when I lost those kids. It was an intense feeling of worry every single day, not knowing what was happening to them. I did get visits with them for about 2 months, and then Katie got mad at me for some random thing and cut me off completely from the kids. So it was traumatic for me as a grown-up, but it was especially traumatic for the children to be cut off from the caretaker. They knew me as Nana, because I have known them their whole lives. So it's a very dark and difficult time in my life, but I had to believe that Katie was going to be able to do this. And so about 6 months after that, I started hearing the stories from the sisters about how Katie's not doing well again, she's back on her heroin, the kids are being neglected, and last fall, they indeed came back into foster care. Fortunately for them, I was able to take them back in, so they have only had one foster care placement in their lives, and it's been with somebody they know, so they're very, very lucky. Most kids don't have that opportunity. And when the kids went back to Katie, I was told by the court system and by the workers that the case would pick up where it left off if the kids came back into care. And then when they came back into care, I was told, oh, the clock's going to start over, and now we're looking at another year before or something. And I'm like, what? You're going to leave these kids in limbo for how long? So I'm trying to not, okay, so it's okay. I don't speak in public very well, so I'm working on it. So I just then I had to wrap my brain around that. And so last month, the unthinkable happened. We were at court, and Katie, in a moment of selflessness, released her parental rights to these kids. And I never thought she would do it, because she loves these kids so much. And in her whole life, of all the bad choices that she's made, these are the two things that she did right. She made these beautiful children. And I know in her heart she loves them so much. But in her mind she knows that she can't take care of them. And she can't provide them with a home. And she can't guarantee that they're going to have food every day. She can't kick her heroin habit. And she released her rights and said they would be better off with me. So it was a horrible day at the courtroom that day. Katie was there by herself with nobody to support her in this decision. And as strained as our relationship has been over the last 6 years through all of this, I was the one there holding her, telling her it was going to be okay and that I would do my best to raise her babies. And so it's been very difficult, because I feel for this mom. You know, she had so many hard knocks growing up, but she's in the end did the right thing for her kids. So I'm looking forward to this year adopting Haley and Isaac. And that brings me up to 5 children I've adopted from the foster care system. My oldest is now 22, and then I adopted 2 girls that are 10 and 4, and then Haley and Isaac are 6 and 3. Foster caring has been very, very difficult, and I am grateful for the time that I've put in as a foster parent, because I have seen the children grow, and I can see now what their future will be like, and